Get ready, because what you're about to discover could change how you see every relationship in your life. Have you ever felt that deep, almost painful ache of loneliness, only to meet someone exactly when you needed them most? Like the universe itself reached down and placed them in your path? Maybe you were drowning in a crisis, desperately seeking answers, or clinging to the last shred of hope when they appeared. And it wasn't just luck, was it? It felt profound, like destiny, like your meeting was somehow written. If that cosmic spark, that unbelievable timing, has ever left you breathless and wondering why, then you absolutely need to hear this. Today, we're diving deep into Carl Jung's explosive concept of synchronicity, those jaw-dropping moments when the outer world magically collides with your inner turmoil or longing. We're talking about how the universe speaks through people, messengers sent with a specific, powerful purpose for your transformation. Think of that, an person who shook you to your core. Was it coincidence or something far more significant? Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand the universe's secret language when it wants you connected. Before we crack the code on these divine encounters, seriously, do me a huge favor. If this blend of raw psychology, soul-deep spirituality, and unlocking your hidden self hits home for you, please smash that like button right now. It tells YouTube this is exactly the kind of content people crave. And subscribe. Honestly, it blows my mind how many viewers watch these life-changing insights but aren't subscribed. Don't miss out. Hit subscribe and tap the bell so you get notified the moment we drop our next deep dive. Your journey deserves this. Plus, tell me in the comments below, have you ever met someone whose timing felt impossibly perfect? Like they were a living message just for you? Share your story. Let's uncover these mysteries together. Alright, let's dive on top, we're exploring exactly how Carl Jung says the universe shouts when it wants you with someone, and how to recognize its unmistakable signs. To understand how the universe sends us signals through people, we first have to talk about a central concept in Carl Jung's thinking: synchronicity. Jung defined it as a meaningful coincidence, that is, when two events happen at the same time without one causing the other, yet they are deeply connected. He believed that not everything that happens in our life is coincidence. There are moments when the external world seems to align with what we are feeling inside, as if the universe is in constant dialogue with our unconscious. And the most interesting thing is that often this dialogue doesn't happen in words, but through symbols, situations, and people. Imagine this. You're going through a complicated moment, you don't know which way to go, and suddenly you meet someone who tells you exactly what you needed to hear, or shows you a path you hadn't seen. There's no logical explanation, but something inside you knows that person didn't appear by chance. That is synchronicity. For Jung, these encounters have symbolic value. It's not just about someone entering your life, and that's it. It's about what that person represents in your inner process. They can be a reflection of something you need to see in yourself, a temporary guide, or even a challenge that comes to shake you awake. Synchronicity reminds us that we are not separate from the universe, but connected to it at a very deep level. And when it manifests through people, it can mark a before and after on our personal path. Many times, without us realizing it, our soul is already calling for that connection long before it happens. And precisely because of that, when it appears, we feel it, not with the mind, but with the body, with the heart, with the soul. Something tells us, this is important, pay attention. And that feeling cannot be forced or faked. It simply happens. When a person arrives in your life synchronistically, it's not always someone who comes to give you tranquility or pleasure. Sometimes that person comes to stir up very deep things within you. And this is where another central idea in Carl Jung's thinking comes in: people as mirrors of the soul. Jung said that many times we project onto others parts of ourselves that we haven't acknowledged. That is, we see in the other what we carry inside, but aren't ready to accept or understand. And the most powerful thing is that often the people who impact us most emotionally, whether for good or for bad, are reflecting exactly that. It could be that you encounter someone who awakens a very intense emotion in you, for no apparent reason. You are attracted, You feel uncomfortable, you are intrigued, and you don't know why. But in reality, that person is functioning as a mirror. Maybe they reflect a desire you've kept hidden, a wound you haven't healed, or even a quality you haven't allowed yourself to develop. These types of encounters aren't always comfortable, nor do they necessarily last forever. Some people arrive only for a moment, but leave a deep mark, not because they are special in themselves, but because their presence activates something within you that needed to come to light. Jung believed we all have a shadow, a part of our psyche where we store what we repress or deny about ourselves. And many times, the universe puts us in front of people who awaken that shadow so we can see it clearly. Thus, those encounters become opportunities to grow, to truly know ourselves, and to heal. And the curious thing is that it's not always about beautiful relationships. Sometimes the mirror can be a difficult relationship, a friendship that ends badly, an intense connection that doesn't come to fruition. But the value isn't in the result of the relationship. It's in what it provoked within you, what it forced you to look at, what it stirred up, what it revealed. Therefore, when someone comes into your life and moves you deeply, for better or worse, ask yourself, what is this person reflecting about me? Because there, right in that answer, might be hidden an important step on your path of transformation. The universe doesn't always speak with words. In fact, most of the time it communicates with us symbolically, subtly, like in a secret language that only the soul can understand. And one of the most powerful channels it has to send us messages is through dreams and repetitive signs that appear in our daily life. Carl Jung placed immense importance on the world of dreams. For him, dreams were direct expressions of the unconscious. They weren't simple products of chance or fantasy. They were purposeful messages, laden with meaningful symbols. Therefore, when you dream constantly of a person, or even if they appear symbolically, like in a figure, an archetype, an energy, it's possible that there's something your soul wants to tell you through that image. And not only in dreams, sometimes signs appear in much more concrete ways. For example, you think of someone and right at that moment they send you a message, or you see their name repeated in different places, or you hear a song that reminds you of that person over and over again at key moments. You didn't seek it, you didn't plan it, it simply happens. And even though your mind might want to rationalize it, your heart feels that it's not a coincidence. These signs, when they repeat and resonate strongly within you, are like little taps from the universe telling you, pay attention, there's something important here. Maybe that person has a message for you, or maybe their presence is linked to a process you need to experience, even if you don't fully understand why. In Jungian philosophy, this type of manifestation shouldn't be taken lightly, because when the external world starts speaking the same language as your inner world, you are facing a moment of synchronicity. And that, according to Jung, is one of the clearest paths toward personal transformation. Of course, not everything that repeats is necessarily a profound sign, but there's something that never fails: your intuition. That gut feeling you can't explain, but that tells you, this is important. When the universe wants you to be with someone, whether to learn, to heal, or to evolve, it begins to show you little clues, as if telling you, this isn't an accident, this is part of the path. And if you pay attention, if instead of ignoring those signals you embrace them with humility and curiosity, you can discover very profound truths about yourself, about your bonds, and about what you truly need at this stage of your life. There's an idea that many people have about soul connections, that they should always feel beautiful, light, like something magical that fills us with peace. But the truth, and Jung knew this very well, is that real connections, the ones that truly touch the deepest part of our being, are often not comfortable. In fact, they can be intense, confusing, and even painful. And not because they are wrong. On the contrary, it's precisely because they are authentic that they confront us. When you connect deeply with someone, that person begins to touch inner fibers that perhaps even you didn't know were there. They can show you your insecurities, your fears, your childhood wounds, your voids. And that doesn't feel beautiful, because it implies looking inward with honesty. It implies recognizing parts of yourself that you had buried or denied. Jung spoke of this in his concept of the individuation process, a path of self-knowledge that isn't always luminous. Sometimes it's dark, uncomfortable, and full of moments where you'd rather look away. But if a connection helps you enter that process, then it's valuable, because it's helping you discover who you truly are, beyond masks, roles, or expectations. It's curious how often we believe love or spiritual connection should always make us feel good. But Jung teaches us that true growth doesn't come only from the pleasant. It also comes from what shakes us, what makes us uncomfortable, what forces us to see our shadows. And it's not about idealizing suffering, nor about thinking that every painful bond is necessarily spiritual. No, but when someone activates a transformation within you, when their presence makes you question yourself, move, awaken, there is something sacred in that, even if it doesn't look like a fairy tale. Some of the most important relationships in our life aren't the ones that last forever, but the ones that push us to change, the ones that break us into 1,000 pieces only to show us how to rebuild ourselves from a more authentic place. Therefore, if a connection hurt you, but also made you see something you needed to see, don't reject it. Be grateful for the lesson, because the soul often doesn't seek comfort. It seeks evolution. One of the most difficult questions many of us ask ourselves at some point is, why did this person hurt me so much? Why did their leaving, their rejection, their distance affect me in such a profound way, even more than other relationships that lasted much longer or were more stable? And Jung gives us a possible answer. Because emotional pain doesn't always have to do with the time you spent with someone, but with what that person activated in your unconscious. There are people who, without knowing it, touch parts of us that were asleep. Maybe they made you feel seen for the first time, or reminded you of an ancient love, or awakened in you a deep desire to belong, to be loved, to heal. And when that connection breaks or doesn't happen as you expected, what hurts isn't just the loss of that person, but everything they represented for you. Often, what really hurts is the reflection that person brought to the surface. It hurts the unresolved, the unhealed. It hurts the wound that was already there but became visible with their presence. Jung spoke of the anima and animus, which are internal representations of the feminine and masculine that we carry within. And when we meet someone who embodies those internal images, as if personifying something that already lived in us, the attraction can be instantaneous, intense, almost magical. But it can also bring equally profound pain if that image breaks or doesn't correspond with reality. So it's not that the person hurt you by themselves. What happens is that their presence ignited fires that were already inside you. And that, even though it hurts, is an opportunity. Because pain is a teacher, a message from the soul telling you, here, there's something to look at. Of course, this doesn't mean justifying toxic relationships or minimizing your suffering. What it means is that you can transform that pain into awareness. You can use what you felt as a compass to understand yourself better, to ask yourself, what is this wound showing me? What part of me needs more love, more compassion, more attention? Because in the end, those people who hurt us the most have also offered us a key, the key to enter the deepest part of our being. And even though they sometimes break our heart, they can also open our soul. One of the most difficult truths to accept when we talk about soul connections is this: not all of them come to stay. And that can hurt a lot, because when we feel a connection so strong, so significant, so synchronized, it's natural to think, this is forever. But the reality is that some people are destined to mark a moment, not an eternity. Carl Jung understood very well that human encounters are deeply linked to our internal processes. And not all processes last a lifetime. Some are brief but intense. Others appear only at key moments. They are like doors that open right when we need to cross to another level of consciousness, healing, growth. And when that step has been taken, the connection, no matter how special it was, may fade away. This doesn't mean it was false. On the contrary, what you experienced was real, what you felt was real, what you learned was authentic. But its duration doesn't define its value. Sometimes the soul needs a fleeting encounter to make a profound turn. like a spark that lights an inner bonfire that never goes out. There are people who arrive to build bridges. They help you cross from one state to another. And although their presence isn't permanent, the change they provoked is. That is what Jung would call a transformative relationship. Not because it lasts a lifetime, but because it leaves a mark that stays with you forever. And here comes something very important. Learning to let go with love. To be grateful for that person's passage through your life without clinging to the idea that they had to stay. Because often the deepest suffering doesn't come from the bond itself, but from the resistance to letting go when it has already fulfilled its purpose. That isn't achieved overnight. You cry, you remember, you miss them. It's a grieving process. But if you go through it with consciousness, openness, and humility, you realize something beautiful. The soul doesn't lose. The soul always wins when it lives from truth. And if that connection was true, then it has already fulfilled its role. It has already shown you something you needed to see. It has already helped you awaken a dormant part in you. So don't measure a connection by how long it lasted, but by how much it transformed you. Because there are souls that touch each other for an instant and change everything. After all we've journeyed through together, there's one last reflection that Carl Jung's philosophy leaves us. Every soul connection has a hidden purpose. Nothing that happens in our inner world is random. Every significant encounter, every deep bond, every experience that shakes us has a meaning beyond the obvious. And that purpose we often don't understand at the time. Only with time, when we look back with new awareness, do we understand why that person appeared, why they made us feel so much, why their presence changed something in us. Jung said that life leads us to what we need to grow, not just to what we desire. And that includes relationships. Some people come to help you heal an old wound, others to show you what you deserve. Some teach you to set boundaries, others make you remember your worth. There are those who make you see your shadow and those who reveal your light. And although at first it may seem chaotic, painful, or even unfair, when you connect with the deeper meaning of that experience, everything begins to have coherence. You discover that the universe isn't playing with your emotions. It is forming you, shaping you, guiding you toward your true self. So here's the ultimate truth bomb from Jung's work that changes everything. Every single connection, every soul-shaking encounter, yes, even the painful ones, was never random. It was the universe forcing you awake, demanding you reclaim your broken pieces, and igniting the dormant power sleeping within your soul. That unexplainable pull you felt, that person who cracked your heart wide open, that was no accident. It was a divine assignment for your individuation journey, pushing you toward becoming your whole, authentic self. Remember this, the real magic wasn't about them staying in your external world. It was about what they awakened inside you. Their mission? Fulfilled. Yours? Just beginning. If this truth resonates in your bones, if you finally see the hidden purpose behind your deepest connections, then you absolutely cannot miss what's coming next. We're diving even deeper into Jung's revelations in future videos, uncovering secrets your soul has been waiting for. But before you go, action step. If this video shifted something in you, prove it to the algorithm. Smash that like button right now. Seriously, it takes 1 second and fuels this mission. Is your hand hovering over the subscribe button? Do it. Don't be part of the huge crowd who watches these life-altering insights but misses the next breakthrough. Hit subscribe and tap the bell so you're instantly notified. Your transformation is worth it. Finally, tell me below, in one powerful word or phrase, what's the first truth about soul connections you're taking away today? Awakening? Purpose? Mirror? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. Keep rising. Your journey continues. See you in the next episode.